Well, hello. How are you? I've got to get Instagram hooked up. One sec. Now I think I know how to do it a little bit better. We're going to have a really cool lesson today about something that I taught in a private coaching session earlier this week. And I think it was really helpful information, so that will be fun. Let me get... Wait, is it already working on Instagram? No. How is everybody? Let me know how you're doing in the comments section. Just shoot me a hello, and I'll put your comment up on the screen. Why can't I get this right? Oh, okay. Now let me try again. There we go. Hey, Robin. Hey, Becky. Hey, Becky. Guys, let me know you're here. Say hi. I'll put your comment up on the screen. There, I think... Well, I'm having trouble with Instagram. Oh, there we go. I guess it takes a second there. Okay, here we are. Hello. All right, I'm going to put my Instagram over here, and then I'm going to put my Facebook over here, or my StreamYard over here. Hey, Robin, glad to hear that you're doing well. Christina, hello. And Lori, hello, my dear. I'm happy to see you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about a lesson that came up in my private coaching recently. I had a session with a client who shall remain completely anonymous. I won't even tell you if it was a man or woman. At least I'll try to keep that private. And here's the actual board that I used when I was speaking to this person. Okay, so we were talking about, the call started as many private coaching calls do with folks. I'm frustrated because I'm not getting this. There's something, something wrong. Why can't I get this kind of questions, right? And we started talking about actually what is the goal and how do we get there. Okay, now I end up going through this a lot with clients over and over and over again to sort of remind you and help you understand where you're at in the journey now. So we'll talk about that in a second. I just want to pause for a minute and say that we are going to be running a 7-day healthy eating challenge coming up here on Monday. It's starting on Monday. So if you want to learn the rhythm of healthy eating in a way that's really easy, sustainable, simple, tastes really good, saves money, saves time, all that kind of stuff, check out the challenge. Okay, it's a 7-day challenge. Is there anyone here watching right now that is for sure going to be doing the challenge? Let me know in the comment section. I'll put your comment up on the screen. And then I'm just going to put up this little thing here. Here is the website for where you can go pick up that challenge. It's $39, sales.nourishyourlifestyle.com/7-day-challenge. That's where you can go buy that challenge. You still have time to join with us. We're only going to let this, I think we're closing down the sales tonight. Okay, we're closing them down on purpose because if you're late, you won't really be able to reap the benefits, kind of a thing. So you only have a day left here to be able to get in on the challenge, okay? Even if you don't do the challenge with us, it's worth it to get the challenge for the recipes and the understanding of the prep instructions. I just had a comment from someone today about how they were happy to have the prep instructions in there. I really, really break it down so that you don't have to do so much cooking every day. Okay, Becky, good. She would, and Robin says she would love to as well. So I'm going to put the link here, actually. Let me get it from the banner so I don't mistype it. This one here. I'm going to put it in the comment section. And I think if I put it in the comment section that you guys are going to be able to click on it. Okay. It's going to be really, really good. I've been running challenges for many years, and I've had so much success come out of people doing my challenges, weight loss, understanding healthy eating, understanding the rhythm, saving money, saving time, all that. Hello, my dear. I'm so happy to see you. Okay, awesome. Lori's in on it for sure. That's so good. Yay, Lori. Robin wants to sign up. Becky wants to sign up. Good. So feel free to go get that. Like I said, today's the last day to get it. And we're starting on Monday. So this way, the challenge itself explains that you should plan to shop either today or tomorrow. So that, because I've like accounted for the amount of time that these groceries will be sitting in your fridge so that they don't go bad. There's 2 little grocery shops. There's a grocery shop today, and then there's one tomorrow. Okay, awesome. So hello, my dear free spirit. She says, I have mine all ready to go shopping. So good. I did make a mistake in one place. I'm a one-woman show, so I made a mistake, and I said that you have to buy 20 blocks of tofu. That is absolutely incorrect. You only need to buy 2. As far as I know, that's the only issue so far. There might be some other typos, but bear with me on some of the typos. If you see and you're like, wait a minute, 20 blocks of tofu? It's probably wrong. But okay. So you'll learn plant-based eating. There is some options for animal products if you want to have them, but mostly my challenges are completely plant-based. Yeah, that is a lot of tofu. I mean, you'd have protein for days if you bought 20 blocks of tofu. But if you guys want to go pick that up, that's there. Okay. So let's get back to what the purpose of today's call is. It's really to talk about the challenge too, but also to kind of go through and explain a lesson that I was teaching to a current private client of mine. Okay. So here's the board. I always use this board, or I use like a whiteboard or something like that on Zoom or something to illustrate concepts so that we can learn things easier, right? It's always better to have another way to learn. Let me just get my marker here. So with this client, the call started off on a sad note, which many private client calls that I do start off on a I'm frustrated note. And I always welcome this with open arms and an open heart, because if you could be perfect already, you would, and you wouldn't need to hire me, right? So you are supposed to have a bunch of moments that feel really, really hard. And I need to turn this off so I don't keep getting text messages. Okay, so if you could do this perfectly already, you would. Hey, Joe Jamie. And I'm just looking at Instagram here. I forgot to look over there. Awesome. Joe Jamie's doing the challenge as well. And there's my mom. Hi, Mom. I love you. Okay, so if you could be perfect already, you would be doing that, right? You wouldn't need to practice. But practice automatically assumes that you're going to be messing up a little bit. Okay, so frustration is normal. Frustration is part of the learning process. Feeling like you don't get it yet is part of the learning process. Okay, when I take on private clients or I take on group clients, I always say this is the process. The first few weeks are always really fun and like that honeymoon phase. And then you always crash and burn. Clients always crash and burn from like week 3 to 9 or something like that. That's to be expected, and it's to be welcomed. And you're supposed to trust me to guide you through that. And I always do. Okay. Then what happens is week 9, 10, 11, 12, we start to really get it. You start to really understand the process. And we do a little bit more work there, week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, something like that, where we're just solidifying what you know, so that now you know how to go forward and keep going. But there becomes an issue, and this is like for everybody really that works with me, is that they want to be 100% perfect already. Now that might mean nutritarian, right? It might mean whole foods, plant-based. It might mean vegan. It might mean keto. It might mean like when you decide what way you want to eat, that becomes then your version of perfection. And then it becomes the tool that you beat yourself up with because you're like, I'm not there yet. What's wrong with me? Right? And that's normal. It's to be expected. So here's what was happening with that client. During that call, I had a sense that this person was kind of stuck here and I need to be perfect land. What's wrong with me? Why am I not there yet? The first thing, sorry, I just had soup and there's a bean stuck in my teeth. Okay, got it. The first thing that we started talking about was this particular client was overeating on a particular food from stress relief for work, right? This person wanted to have this food. So I asked the question, okay, so this person wanted the food for stress relief and yet wanted to be perfect nutritarian. And those things don't go together. You cannot be a perfect nutritarian and use food for stress relief. So I started talking to this person about that particular food that you went to go eat. What was the reason that you ate it? This person said, as a reward for a hard day, right? A reward for a hard day at work. Who is familiar with that feeling, all right? Wanting to have a reward for a hard day's work. So we started talking about this concept of using food for a purpose. What is food used for, right? Is it used for reward? Is it used for fuel for the body? That kind of a thing. And what I started doing was showing this person where they were on the spectrum of their journey. So the question came up, why can't I do this yet? What's wrong with me? Is there something out of line with my intention? Do I not love myself enough? Why am I not here? This person was equating the idea of self-love with success, that like if you loved yourself enough, which many people use that nowadays as a program component, it's included in my component, it's included in my program as well, but I know it's not the reason that people actually change, okay? It's important to have self-love, but it's not what's going to get you to stop overeating or using food for reward or emotional eating and things like that. So I asked the question, so this person kept saying like, well, I don't know why I keep doing this, right? What is it? What do I need? What am I missing? And here's what I pointed out, okay? Here's how I explain this. So I put it on a spectrum, the different ways of eating, right? This spectrum here. So you could be standing here. Let me just see if I can get a different color marker so I can show a little easier. So at one end of the spectrum is standard American diet, meat, dairy, animal products, all that kind of stuff, right? Standard American diet, as well as a lot of processed or lots and lots and lots of processed foods, fast foods, things like that. That's this end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is this more kind of therapeutic end of the spectrum, which is nutritarian, right? Eating foods only for fuel and for health and nutrients and healing stuff, okay? So this is the other end of the spectrum. Now, most of us are somewhere in the middle, right? Some of us come to me at this place, and that's okay too. We can get here from here. We can get here from anywhere, okay? But what's so fascinating is that usually when I'm working with clients, they hire me to become 100% nutritarian, and then we discover that they actually don't want to be 100% nutritarian, okay? Here's what I mean. So for instance, I asked this particular client, the food in question was ice cream. This person had some ice cream and has it on a weekly basis, usually for stress relief. And I said, is ice cream something that you want to give up? And when I asked that question, this person said no, thought about it for a second and then said no. And I said, why is that? And this person said, well, they just really like it. They like the feeling of having it. They want to be able to do it sometimes or whatever. And I said, okay, heard, done, chosen, right? We've decided we want to have ice cream in our diet. And this is a dairy product, right? It doesn't even have to be vegan. It can be a dairy product. So I said, okay, so there's some foods that you actually still want to keep in, as well as bakery products. So there are some like bakery things that this person wants to continue to eat as well. And I said, do you want to give those up? And this person was like, thought about it, I was like, no, I don't want to. So I said, okay, what if this is what you want? 100% nutritarian, maybe 95% nutritarian or something. This is what you want. But this is where you are. Maybe 80% nutritarian and 20% whatever, right? Let's just say this is where you are. And it, give or take, it changes daily and things change, right? But give or take, this is where you are right now. So I said, if this is where you are, there was a very obvious, that's not good enough kind of a thing, right? That idea is like, no, but I want to be here because I know this is the best health and this is the best outcome for me and all that. And I was like, okay, I understand that. Then we defined what this is. And this is where it got kind of interesting because we defined what like even saying 100% nutritarian, what that means. So sometimes people will say, and for those of you who don't know, nutritarian is a term to describe a person who eats a particular diet from a book called Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Okay. The basic gist of this diet is high nutrient, whole plant foods, no oil, no salt, no sugar, no added stuff. Okay. That's the premise. Now, many people have read this book or seen Dr. Fuhrman speak or whatever, and they all agree that they want to eat this way, but they can't do it consistently with society the way it is and their, personal lives the way they are and things like that. So it's frustrating for many people because they want to be nutritarian, but they can't stick to it. That's where I come in. That's what I help people with. Okay. But what's so fascinating is, like Dr. Fuhrman says in his literature in various places, that you don't actually have to be 100% nutritarian to be fully healthy. You can still have, some processed food, perhaps some meat, some dairy. 5-10% of your calories can still be these sort of off nutritarian, like non whole foods, plant-based type things. You could still have 5 or 10% of that food and still be considered a nutritarian, kind of. Okay. It's a rigid structure, but it still does allow for some off-plan eating. Okay. The problem is that many people are under the impression that it's easier to go 100%, like no off-plan foods, than it is to be 80 or 90%, right? I actually think that this is incorrect. I actually think that either way is tough or either way is easy, depending on how you're thinking of it. And I coach people to do whichever one they want. But the first thing I do with a client is I find out, what do you actually want? Like, so a doctor tells you to eat this way, perhaps, but what do you actually want in your real life? And that question is, I think, really telling for people because they find that they don't actually want to fully give up those other foods. They actually do still want some of those foods. Like, for instance, if we have grandchildren or we have children or something who eat some off-plan foods, we want to be able to maybe go enjoy some ice cream with them, or, we want to be able to have some foods like this. Now, according to the diet, Eat to Live, or the nutritarian diet, this sort of therapeutic end of eating, the healthiest way of eating, you can have those things. So what was interesting, because in this session, then we got to a point where I pointed out that she actually was eating according to nutritarian percentages, right? Like this all sounds very rigid if you don't actually follow this diet, but if you do follow it, you kind of know what I mean, right? I don't recommend that people be very rigid. In fact, that's what I try to undo in a lot of my private and group coaching. But what we realized was that this client actually was eating to that standard. So we did some math, and I said, okay, let's find out what 10% is of 1 week's worth of meals. So 1 week holds about 21 meals. Not 5 or 10% off equals 2.1 meals. Meaning, in the course of a week, we could have 2.1 meals that are totally off plan, and that wouldn't affect anything health-wise. And what's so weird is that actually is 100% nutritarian. Like that, even like not being perfect, is 100% nutritarian, because he allows for some things for you to be able to have, like the ice cream or the pastry or something every once in a while. Not a problem, right? So actually, the first thing that we found out with this client was that this person actually was eating almost like 100% nutritarian, technically, kind of a thing, right? But then what we looked at was this idea of overeating. Okay. So then I said, do you ever overeat? And this person thought about it and was like, no, I don't really have a problem with overeating. When I have a meal, I kind of, don't really eat too much or whatever. That might not be the same for all of us. Many of us do overeat, and that's okay. But I was just trying to define, what does overeating mean? So I said, okay, so I understand that when you have a meal, You don't necessarily you don't eat too much of that meal. But then I said, the ice cream though, were you hungry when you had the ice cream? The person thought about it and said, no, I wasn't hungry. And we realized that it was just for reward, right? There wasn't any actual hunger. It was just wanting to have a sweet treat to reward ourselves for a hard day at work, right? So then I said to this person, well, this is interesting actually, because that is overeating, right? Eating outside of the bounds of hunger is overeating, because what it means is that our body actually doesn't need it. If it needed it, it would have asked for it in the form of hunger or cravings or things like that, right? And I mean cravings specifically after a meal, like wanting to eat more calories or whatever. But just a craving for emotional reasons is overeating, because it's outside of the bounds of what our body needs to perform, to actually like do what it needs to do, okay? So that was an interesting thing that came up, realizing that while we might be eating the correct ratio of foods, right? Having high calorie or high nutrient, plant-based foods and little to no processed foods, some, right? But not all, whatever. We realize that the quantities are correct, or the quality is correct, but the quantities are not, right? And that any kind of overeating that keeps us at that higher weight or keeps us sort of outside of the bounds of health, that is overeating. Even if we're maintaining our weight, all right, it's still overeating, because our natural body would be somewhere lower in weight. And I want to talk for a second about weight. Okay, Lori, let me see what you're saying here. So 90 to 100% is not logical for me, because I tend to give up 100% after those 2 to 3 weeks. I'm going to strive for 70 to 80%, as it's actually 1,000 times better than nothing. That is such a great point. And we can see this here, like, we might have some times where we end up eating these types of foods. That's okay. But anywhere along the spectrum is progress, right? And so when we say accepting 70 to 80% and saying, this is what I'm doing for now, it's the step towards 100%, right? And just as you're saying, if we could do 100%, we would already be doing it. If we could, right? We'd be doing it forever, and we would just keep doing it forever. If we could, we would. But what this means is that we can't. So, but also let's not judge that. It's okay, right? So then what can we do? Well, we can certainly do better than this. And then here's where it got really interesting. Okay, I'll come back to the don't overeat thing in just a second. Here's where it got really interesting, because I said to this person, okay, would you go back here? Like, would you go back and just start, like, this person said something like, what was it? I asked, would you ever go back to eating meat? Because this person wanted to give up, right? Like this point, like, oh, I'm sick of this. It's not working. And I said, well, would you ever go back and eat meat and dairy and, go fully back to junk food and processed foods and things like that? And the person was like, no, unequivocally, no. Like, there's absolutely no chance that I would ever go back to this end of the spectrum, right? And I said, why is that? What we discover is that the reason that this person would never go back here is because this person is 100% sold on the reasons not to do this, right? Just sold on, this is a no. This end of the spectrum is a no for me. It's like saying, let's say you have an all fast food diet, but before that you used to have an all Twinkie diet, right? And then you at least make the change to going to just fast foods. Maybe you're having some meat, some vegetables, whether they're fried or not or whatever. It's at least better than having all Twinkies, right? Even if you're going from the worst of the worst to a little bit better, if we said, well, would you go back to an all Twinkie diet? No, right? Like, because this next step up here of going to all fast food, or whatever that next step might be, of going to 33% fast food, or the next step of having a salad every week, or the next step of having a salad every other day, plus fast food or whatever. Those next steps up are not are not really super hard if you do them little by little, right? It doesn't feel as hard if you do what we call small shifting, where you're just sort of small shifting to this next level. And once you, I'm getting so many texts, I need to close this out. Once you have shifted to this place where it feels totally manageable to do that and you enjoy that thing, then where you were before feels not even interesting anymore. Like you don't feel in any danger of going back here and only doing this one because you're so sold. And with this particular client, we were talking about, would you ever go back to just having a ton of fast food or whatever? And the client was like, no, like it's not even a question. Now, how do we go 100% nutritarian? It's the same exact thing as this one, which is, of course, I eat nutritarian. Like, why would I ever eat 80% when I can eat 100? It's a shift that's so strong in your brain, you could never even question it. Just like you wouldn't now with the going back to standard American diet 100%, because you've tasted what it is like to have a little bit healthier food. You could never go back to having 100% this, meaning like you might have some times where you go back to it, but then you always want to get back healthy at some point, right? So I want to point out that if any of you are feeling like you're a total failure, I guarantee you everyone feeling that way is actually not, because if they've done it for long enough, they get sick of it and then they want to eat healthy for a while. Okay, whatever that version of healthy is for you. We always have that. So we always have the ability to small shift our way towards this. But the couple points that are important here is that if you could go 100% right now, you'd already be doing it. Okay, so let's put that aside because that's just not part of where we are right now. What if we accept this one, the 80%, somewhere along that spectrum as where we are, and it's okay? Because exactly as Lori said, 80% or 70% or whatever is better than no percent, than just giving up completely, right? So what if we accepted this one? Now, here's what's interesting. With this client, I was like, we want to make sure that we're not overeating because it is not nutritarian to overeat. And I always argue lately that not overeating is the first step, right? So learning how not to overeat is the first thing that we should do. Because I look back at myself back in like 2016, 2017, and I was eating 100% nutritarian foods, nothing, animal products, no salt, no oil, no sugar. And yet I was still binging, right? So I was still having all these dates and almond butter and unsweetened almond butter and dates, which when you put them together, it makes a really high calorie dessert, right? And I was eating that every day, like 12 or 15 dates a day. And it was just way too much food. And I couldn't, that was still not nutritarian because I hadn't removed the overeating part yet. So I kind of flipped things and decided, okay, I'm going to actually remove the overeating part first, because I know I can't be 100% nutritarian because I've been trying to do it especially during my pregnancies and stuff, throw everything off. And now having kids, I don't want to be 100% nutritarian anymore. So I said, okay, let me just see if I can figure out how to not overeat. And that's what I teach people first now. That's the intermediate step here, is how do we learn not to overeat and not to binge eat and eat emotionally and things like that. So with a particular client, that's what we started talking about was if we could be 100% nutritarian, we would. So that's not possible and it's okay. If we want to be 100% nutritarian, the first step to doing that is actually to learn to not overeat where we are, which is acceptance of 70, 80% perhaps, or some basic goal that's like just whole foods or just plant-based or something that's a little more accessible than this 100% perfect thing. What could we do now, right? Maybe we could at least give up fast food, or we could at least have less fast food, or we could at least whatever that 80% is for us, okay? So then what I started talking about with this client was this spectrum of change. So we're looking at this spectrum here, and I was saying to this client, well, you're about right here, which is, somewhere around here. And this is okay because we would never expect you to be already at this end because then you would have never hired me, right? Robin says, I have always overeaten all my life. Yep, 100%. And this is what we're changing. This is what we can change. And this is what we can change first. And I always suggest that we change this part first so that we can learn to Because once we understand this one, then we'll automatically want to start eating healthier foods. Okay. So we were talking about this spectrum. If you could be here, you already would be. And it's okay to not be here yet because we're on a journey. So can we accept that we're on a journey, or can we not accept it and we think we have to be perfect, right? Is it all or nothing? Do you have to be perfect or be nothing? Isn't it better to be at least somewhere in the middle if you can't be perfect? Yes. So then let's accept where we are. Maybe that's the big lesson for you today, is to accept where you are in this journey and to let it be okay that not being perfect or not being closer to where you want to be, or having that perfect weight yet, or having your diabetes fixed yet, or, whatever. All of those things that we think we have to get done now, or this is going to happen. Yeah, I get it. I get that those things are important. But the stress of trying to be perfect is what makes us fall off track. I'm going to say that again. The stress of trying to be perfect when we're not, that's what makes us fall off track. Okay. So then we said, what is a better goal right now than trying to be 100% nutritarian at this point? And one thing that I suggest is always, let's try the not overeating thing. Okay. So then I said, how do we do that? And in my program, one of the really important parts of how we do that, so we're learning how not to overeat. How we do that is only eat for hunger and maybe some pleasure, but only when you're hungry. Okay, only eat for hunger. So when you're hungry. So for this ice cream example with my client, I was like, did you eat when you were hungry? And this person said no, right? I ate for stress relief. I ate to get over that stress. And I said, okay, here's how that would look otherwise. It would be, you have breakfast, and we've gotten to this point with my client where this person eats breakfast only when they're hungry, right? This person used to eat breakfast right when they got up, right? But over time, we shifted that to only when they're hungry. So now they eat breakfast around 10:30, 11 when they first get those hunger feelings, right? So then if we're having breakfast around 10:30, 11, it's logical that our next meal is going to start to be interesting around 1 or 2 or 3 p.m. So I said, this is how we shift this one, right? Instead of having the ice cream when we are feeling that push of stress, we have the ice cream when we're hungry. We wait till we're hungry, right? So I said, when does that come around? Maybe it's 2 p.m. or 1 p.m. or something like that. And then we go eat when we're hungry. Now, what's interesting about eating ice cream when you're hungry, I said to this person, would it feel good to have a whole meal of ice cream? And this person thought about it and was like, yeah, I think that would be fine. I think that'd be satisfying. I said, okay, not everyone would have that feeling, by the way. They might feel sick after having a meal of ice cream. It's not necessarily a healthy thing for our blood sugar and things like that, but just having the meal, how does it actually feel in our body? Some people wouldn't mind it and some people would. But I always recommend that people do this and actually test this out and then start to record the data in their head or on a notebook of how it actually feels to have done that. So how does it feel to have a meal of ice cream when you're hungry? Do you want more afterwards? Is having ice cream when you're hungry, does it make you feel more hungry so that you want more ice cream afterwards? Like, I'm the kind of person, I could probably eat 4 ice cream cones in a row and I would be fine and happy. I might feel sick, but I would be happy to do that, right? But how does it feel actually? Like, do I actually like how that feels? Now, this is the kind of work that we do to unwind this stuff over time, because what we want to do then is realize, and this is going to be true for everybody, that it doesn't feel as good to have ice cream for a meal as it does to have salad and then maybe ice cream, right? It doesn't actually just feel physically good, and we don't get great energy from eating ice cream from a meal than we would from having a salad first and then maybe the ice cream, or just a salad in general, right? And so this is the work that we do, and this is the work I suggest with clients, is to actually like pull this apart and see what it's like. Actually do the experiment, right? Have the ice cream when we're stressed and upset. And I said, well, what is the point of having the ice cream? What do you get from that? And this person said, well, it kind of takes me out of the stress that I was, right? It like resets something in my brain. I said, okay, so let's see if we can make that feeling without having to use ice cream. And we can talk about that in a second, how we do that. So then I do this with my clients where I suggest actually do this work. Have the ice cream when you're stressed and you just want to feel better, see what that's like. Have the ice cream and wait until you're hungry to have it. Have the cone and then see how you feel. If you want more, whatever, just kind of look at it, see how it feels. And then the next one to try is try to have, and you maybe if you have to do that a few times in a row to really get a good sense of what that is, okay. And then maybe the next step up is to try to, if you've done that a few times and now you're used to having ice cream only when you're hungry, then you start to have it after a meal. So it's like, yeah, I can have ice cream. I'm happy to have it and I don't mind having it, but I need to have had a nice big salad ahead of time or a bowl of soup or something healthy first. Because I know from experience, because I've experimented with this, that having ice cream on an empty stomach always makes me want more ice cream. And so that's not really what I'm going for. I just want to have a little bit of ice cream, be done with it, right? And so then maybe we realize that we want to have ice cream only after we've had a full meal. So we have that full meal when we're hungry, and then we can have some ice cream, right? And then we say maybe we've done that for a few weeks, and we say, well, I don't want ice cream as much as I've been having it. Maybe I just want to have it once a week, or I can have it twice a week or something like that, right? What's happening here with this progression of experimentation and this progression of like learning data about ourselves is that we're removing the can, can't, shouldn't, should, have to, this is really bad. We're removing judgment from it. And we're just like experimenting and seeing what happens in our body and how do we actually feel and think when we do these things, instead of believing that these foods are controlling us or that we're addicted to these foods. This is instead taking that power back into our own hands and realizing that we have the power and things can get easier if we just open up to it. Okay. So the way closer to here is number one, by learning how not to overeat, which is learning to only eat for hunger. We can eat for pleasure, like we can have ice cream, but we only do it when we're hungry, right? So first step there. So what I would like to suggest for anyone watching this that has this issue, just have one goal this next week, which is just stop eating, like only eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you've had enough. For this particular client, we're talking about the 80% rule, which is something that they do in Japan for the longest lived, populations. They have a thing that they say, which is only eat till you're 80% full. So you don't eat quite as much as you need, but you still eat enough to be satisfied, and then you stop. This isn't something that we're just going to be perfect at right away, but this is something that we can do as a practice and get better and better at. So if you're joining us for the challenge, what I highly recommend, or even if you're not joining us for the challenge, is to use this one simple thing this next week and just practice it. Sometimes you're going to get it right and sometimes you're not. But the idea is just only eat when I'm hungry, right? So whenever I get hungry, I eat though. I don't like hold off because I'm busy or something. I actually stop what I'm doing and I eat, right? So I eat when I'm hungry and then I stop when I'm full. And I stop at around 80%. Now, maybe you're going to do this like 20% of the time to start off, and you're not going to be very good at it. That's okay. That's better than nothing, right? The more we practice this, the more it becomes automatic for us, okay? Tell me in the comment section, you guys, what are you getting out of this? Is this useful for you? Are you learning something? What is the biggest thing that's coming up for you out of what we're talking about, okay? So the first thing here is just eat for hunger and satiety. So if you're going to be doing the 7-day challenge with us, all right, we're going to be doing, Christina. And Christina, thank you so much, Sherry. I want to get off this cycle of blame and shame and focus on acceptance, hunger cues, and start listening to what my body is communicating. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Christina, you're the same Christina that's in the texting group, right? So I also have a texting group, by the way. And Kitty, thank you, honey. Yes, I love the idea of 80%. I also have a texting group. Christina's in the texting group. It's a monthly thing. You can come and go as you please. It's on WhatsApp, and I actually text you every day, and we have little conversations here, just to sort of accountability and keep us going. And that way, you can just text right, if you want. So look into that too. And if you join the challenge, you have the opportunity to join that too. Okay. Yeah, Becky says the 80% goal is new to me. I will strive to incorporate. Yep. So Becky, what I want you to think of is like just make that your only goal for this week. Like just pick one of them, right? You could pick either eat when hungry or you could pick the 80% thing. Just pick one if you're starting out with this stuff. So if the eat when hungry one is what that looks like is like I was saying with my client, we went from eating right when this person woke up to waiting until the actual first hunger pang, right? Just wait for it. Mine comes right away nowadays because I've got myself there. But it didn't always do that. I used to ignore hunger for a long time, and then I thought I wasn't hungry in the morning. And then I started actually listening to it, and I realized, wow, I get hungry immediately. I always do, 7:30, and I'm like, I get a really, really strong hunger pang. So then I'm like, okay, I'm eating. That might be a drink with some soy milk in it, matcha tea or something like that. Or like this morning we had smoothies. Whatever it is, we just go and eat, right? So that might look like waiting then until you're hungry, and then you wait again, and then you stop eating, and then you wait again. It's such a great exercise to get in touch with your body. Because what's amazing is that our bodies actually have everything they need already. They're equipped already. Even if we have metabolic damage or whatever, our bodies are still equipped with the machinery and wiring to be able to tell us how much to eat and when to stop. We just have to tune back into it. Okay, so all of these diets out there that say, oh, count your calories, count your points, use this app, whatever, all that's crap. We don't need any of that crap. Everything we need is already here. We were born with it already. So let's not complicate it, right? So pick one, either eating when hungry or stopping when full. Okay. Oh, so Becky, yeah, so I'm diabetic, so I have to have breakfast. That's totally fine. Whatever you got to do for your own medical stuff. So have your breakfast. And when you go to eat, have a full meal, right? Have a full meal. Good, Robin. You already eat when you're hungry. That's good. So so that's the either we do the eat when hungry thing. So then we'd have breakfast whenever that is, and then we wait again to be hungry. And then that might be 3-4 hours later, and then we eat again. As I said, we don't push it off. We eat, we listen. So say we're doing some work and we're stuck in the middle of a project, we stop. We go, we eat something, right? We have our lunch at that point. And then when we're done with that, we wait for the next time to get hungry. And what's really nice about this, it makes it easy for us to lose weight because the next time we get hungry is probably going to be 5-6 p.m. If we've eaten that amount of food to 80% for lunch, 5-6 p.m., and then you eat and then you're done. And then before bed, it's likely that you're going to get a tiny bit hungry. And then that's how it's easy to lose weight. If we have a tiny bit of hunger before we go to bed, okay? Or the other thing that you can try to work on is just eating to 80%. So don't worry so much about eating when hungry, but just every time you eat, stop when you're 80% full, okay? So this is where we start. This is how we start unwinding this stuff, okay? And this is how we start like deprogramming from all the diet brain stuff, all right? Now, if we do this part, here's what's so fun about this, you guys. If we do this part where we're actually working on the hunger and satiety thing, we're starting to get in touch with our body. And since we're getting in touch with our body and we're doing stuff out of self-love and self-care, we're actually going to start to eat more vegetables automatically. We're going to start to eat better automatically. Okay, Robin. So you say I eat when I'm hungry, but I overeat. Yep. So then the only one that you want to work on right now is just the 80% thing. Okay, that's it. So you already eat when you're hungry, great. But let's just start on the 80% thing. Now, what that looks like is, I mean, you're not going to get that right every time, and that's okay. But it's like this week, the only thing I'm working on doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the foods are. Just I'm eating when I'm hungry and I'm stopping when I'm 80% full. And what does 80% look like, right? So you're asking yourself that question and you're experimenting with different meals. Like, was that 80% or was that 80% or what is that feeling for us? In the challenge, let me just grab some water real quick because I'm really thirsty. Come on. In the challenge, you guys, so I mentioned that we're running a 7-day challenge starting on Monday. It's a healthy eating challenge. It's going to teach you the rhythm of how to eat really healthy, whole foods, plant-based stuff, low salt, low sodium, no sugar, no oil. Okay. And let me just put up that website again. So you can pick that up here, sales.nourishyourlifestyle.com/7-day-challenge. You can pick that up. It's $39. It's starting on Monday. You have enough time. Today's the last day to be able to get it, actually. So you have enough time to be able to get your groceries and prep those first set of meals so that you can join with us on Monday, okay? So Monday, everyone is going to be eating this way. Now, you got to think of this as like a framework, not as a be-all, end-all, because you still want to eat when hungry and stop when full, okay? And that's the skill that I want you to get into, is understanding that a meal plan isn't super helpful, right? Meal plans can be helpful from the perspective of knowing what you're going to eat and having that, like, you don't have to think about that part. But the quantities are not helpful, because I can't possibly make a meal plan that's going to be perfect for everybody. There's no way. Some people are going to be more hungry. Some people are going to have higher activity levels. Some people will have lower activity levels. There's no way for me to know. And so I say there's a lesson in there on one of the pages that talks about the hunger scale and how to know when you're hungry and when you're full. Okay, so if you want to pick that up, there's a lesson in there as well, and that's going to help you. And what I would say is, along with doing the challenge, do the challenge. You only eat when you're hungry and stop when you're 80%. Okay, so you can pick that up too and learn more about that and practice that. Oh, good. Melissa printed out yesterday. Yay. Yeah. Remember the typo on the grocery list. It's not 20. It's not 20 things of tofu. It's not 20 blocks of tofu. I'm sorry. It's only 2. Okay. For those of you who are doing the challenge, I made a typo there. Okay. So Blanca says, it makes me think about what I really want to be able to eat. I started off answering questions just like this person that you were talking about, and just in this live chat. I've realized that I wouldn't eat ice cream for a meal, so it gives me the go-to. Think of the foods that I really want and think about when I would enjoy them. Exactly. Yep. It makes me think about what I really want to be able to eat. So, and these kinds of questions, we can ask them of ourselves too, right? We can ask, do I really want this food as a meal? How does it feel when I have it as a meal? And what I ask these questions as a private coach and as a group coach, because we never ask ourselves this stuff. But if we knew that the path to eating healthier and healthier was just in asking ourselves these questions, we would all ask these questions and we'd all try these tiny little things to start, right? So the program basically goes like this. Learn to not overeat. Doesn't matter what the foods are. Just first learn to not overeat. And we do not overeating from a place of love and self-care and caring about our body. Now, as a former binge eater, I never cared about my body. I was so used to overeating so much that caring about my body was a very foreign concept. And I started asking people who did care about their bodies, how do you care? How do you care about how you feel? How do you care about feeling nauseous after a meal or whatever? I just didn't understand it. And I heard from people that it was just a natural thing for them, that they really just didn't like the feeling of being so full. And I say to myself, as I'm learning this stuff a few years ago, I was like, oh, there are people out there who actually don't like that feeling of being overfull. I wonder if I like it, right? I just never even thought about it before because I'd done it so much. I was like, I wonder if I like it. And then when it was happening, it continued to happen. I was like, oh, right. I actually don't like how this feels. And then when I would not overeat, I would remind myself, hey, I really like this, right? And I got more conscious and more aware of what I was doing and how I was doing it. And then that became the stuff that then became the kind of steps of my program. And the second step of my program is eat when hungry, stop when full, or stop when 80%. Okay. So, yeah, I'm so used to it. Absolutely. I know, because we're so used to overeating that it feels normal. It feels like that's what we're supposed to do. Right. But let's question that. Like, there are some people out there who actually just eat the right amount. And then if they overeat one day, they automatically undereat the next day. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just evening itself out. Right. That's just becoming more intuitive with what your body already knows. And this word intuitive eating that we have nowadays is kind of a dirty word because people think they can't do it. Like, people think, oh, well, that's not for me. I'm a binge eater. I'm a food addict or something. And I'm like, nope, that's exactly who it is for those folks who feel like they can't control themselves. because the fun news is that we all can control ourselves. We just have to do it in the right way. Instead of trying to jump here perfectly immediately, we have to accept where we are and keep moving up that ladder. Okay. And that's what I show you how to do. So the challenge is a really great way to get started with this. We're going to be doing this together for the folks who are in the texting group. That's going to be a really fun place too. The texting group is an additional $19. And you can do it month to month if you want. So you could do the texting group just for a month, or you could do it ongoing like that, just on the WhatsApp app that's on your phone. That's going to help a lot with accountability during this challenge. It'll be really fun to all kind of do this together and talk about it. And then afterwards, I'm going to be opening up my community. It's currently called the Eat to Live Family. I'm going to be shifting it really soon to a different platform, but I'm going to be opening this up again. And what this is actually coaching. So I actually coach in there, and I do this kind of coaching, but one-to-one coaching where you could come on and get coached yourself on your specific challenges. Okay, so look out for that, because that's going to open up as well after the challenge is finished. It's my favorite place on the internet. We make some amazing change in there. We support each other and love each other. Okay, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, good. So Becky just signed up. Yay! Here, let me get a little congratulations. Yay, Becky! I'm so happy you signed up. That's great. Anyone else that's watching this that wants to sign up, do it, because today's the last day that you can do that. If anything, even if you don't do it live with us, you'll still have some new recipes and you'll be able to see visually how to prep stuff in a way easier way than other people tell you how to prep. Okay. So Becky, in the challenge it's everything you need is in there. So it's a PDF. It will be sent to you immediately after you sign up. If you don't get it, just reach out to us at support. Let's see if I have that here. support@nourishyourlifestyle.com. I don't have one. Hold on, let me change this. But it's not the watering mouth. Hold on, let me change. nourishyourlifestyle.com. Okay. Just email us at support@nourishyourlifestyle.com and we'll send you what you need. But the one that is sent to you, it has the calendar. So it'll say when you're going to make and eat things. And then it has the recipes, and then it has the grocery list. Okay. So that's all in one PDF. Everything you need is in there. Okay. So I hope to see you guys in that challenge. Let me just put that up one last time. sales.nourishyourlifestyle.com/7-day-challenge. So go ahead and pick that up. We're starting on Monday. There's so many ways that I'm supporting you guys. Okay. Whether you're a binge eater, an overeater, an emotional eater, whether you want to lose weight, whether you want to eat healthier, any goal that you have, I'm a life coach, right? I'm a certified life coach. So I know how to get you from where you are to where you want to go. If you want private coaching, if you want group coaching, I got you. If anything you need. Okay. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for being with me. Does anyone have any questions? I'll stick around for another minute in case anyone has any questions or thoughts. I'm so glad to see some of you folks are actually joining the challenge and getting excited for that. I'm getting really excited too. I haven't done a challenge in a long time with you guys. I took a break for a year to work on a different aspect of my business. And so now I'm back to doing challenges and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to be back. You're so welcome, Blanca. And Blanca's in the texting group as well. That's really fun. We've got a few people in there now, and I hope for that one to grow. I'm going to be making some really cool changes here pretty soon. With what I'm doing currently, I'm going to be just shifting to whole foods, plant-based type recipes. And then I'm also going to be starting up a new sort of arm of the business, which is going to be all about helping people end binge eating. Okay. That is my specialty. That's the thing I know the best, because I was a binge eater and I no longer am. And so that's really, I'm going to be putting so much focus into that, helping people learn to end binge eating, as well as learning how to do it with vegetables and plant-based foods and, this kind of healthier end of the spectrum. Because it's what we all really kind of do want, right? Like we do want to eat healthy. We just want to eat healthy, but we don't want to right now, if that makes sense, right? And that's what I help people do is I help people want to eat healthy. Okay. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks so much for your time, you guys. It was nice to see you. It's Friday, so I wish you a really wonderful weekend. And for those of you who are doing the challenge, I wish you awesomeness with your grocery shopping and all that kind of stuff. And we'll hit the ground running on Monday. Okay, hope to see you in the challenge. Have a great weekend. See you in the next one. Oh, I'm doing a live video next week too. Okay, so yes, good, Blanca. That's what you really want. Good. Okay. Next week, I'm doing live videos as well on Monday and Friday to support you during the challenge. Okay. So be there or be square. Have a great weekend. See you guys soon. Bye.